Hey, everyone, welcome to Cohn and Krueger. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Larry Krueger. The 49ers won the game yesterday and lost their quarterback, and we need to discuss that right now. Larry, here's what I want to do. I want to get your take on this, but first, I want to read to you something Kyle Shanahan said out of his own mouth.
Okay.
Kyle Shanahan said this a year ago to Ed Werder. Quote, in reference to Trey Lance, quote, he's not Lamar Jackson. Trey is a quarterback who has the ability to run. But to just line him up and run him, I mean, the game's too physical. That's what Kyle Shanahan said. So a year later, we see how we use Trey Lance. We see what happened. What do you think of the Trey Lance story?
Well, I think Kyle Shanahan's a visionary. You know, he's a visionary. He saw it because he's totally right on that quote.
Right.
You know, this goes back to week one. Forget yesterday for a second. Let's get into week one. That was my big takeaway. That was, you know, and I love Kyle Shanahan. I think he's a terrific coach. Heck, you and I both predicted that Kyle Shanahan's football team would win the Super Bowl. Okay. So on some level, we were giving him some acknowledgement that this guy is, you know,
good enough.
It's not like he's some scrub. He's a top tier NFL coach, but I didn't understand the usage of Trey in the Arizona game. I said it, and I didn't understand the usage of Trey in the first game, and I said it. And you know, immediately I get the same pushback that probably everybody else who would say something like that would get. Oh, it's football. Hey, it's a rough game. Guy, you can get hurt anyway. You could get hurt in practice. You could get hurt standing on the sidelines. You get these people who kind of just get, you know, dug in on their position. But to me, there's a huge difference between, hey, you know what? I don't think we need Jimmy Garoppolo anymore. I think we need somebody who has some mobility. That's just noticing what's around you. That's just noticing that the Josh Allens and the Patrick Mahomeses and the Deshaun Watsons are the future of the NFL. And that if you're going to compete for a Super Bowl in the NFL that those players reside in, I don't know, maybe it would help to have a player who was a little bit more versatile, had a little bit more high-level athleticism. So I bought into that, and I still buy into that. And to me, that was the reasoning behind going for Trey Lance. But then to get him in there and to just run him between the tackles recklessly is, I mean, this is exactly what was going to come. And whether it was going to come in game 2, game 12, in a way, I'm happy. I'm happy. It sounds terrible because I'm not rooting for injury, and I know Trey's a good kid, and I'm rooting for good things for him. But in a way, I'm kind of glad it happened earlier than later because it's a loud statement to everybody who watched it that it ain't a sustainable plan. That's right. I don't care whose idea it was, who else in the league does it. It's not a sustainable plan running your quarterback between the tackles against NFL caliber defenses. So
what's crazy
where I'm
is Kyle's
coming
going to try to sell it as like, this is how I had to use Trey. But that's not true because we saw Kyle call a very smart game for Trey against the Texans. Jimmy wasn't there. He was hurt. There was no backup. Kyle called a great game. Trey executed it, and they won. Then they come in year 2 after a full offseason, and you're telling me this is how you have to use Trey. It's not like, yeah, sure, run him. But you're going to run him like a steady diet early in the game when you don't have to. They could have beaten the Seahawks with Trey Lance handing off 50 times and throwing 10 passes. Instead, he was going to be the leading rusher for like the 3rd time in 4 starts. He was the leading rusher against Arizona. He was the leading rusher in Chicago. Why? To me, that's negligence at best and sabotage at worst. It's okay to run your quarterback, but that's running him into the ground. And you have to wonder, why was Kyle so cavalier about that?
I mean, there's one number the only number you need to know from yesterday is the number 3. Trey Lance had 3 pass attempts. Trey Lance had 3 rushing attempts. I mean, the end of the game, Jimmy wound up with 21 pass attempts. So if Trey had been in there, would it have been 21 pass attempts for Trey and 21 carries? I mean that's not sustainable. Nobody in the history of the NFL has ever sustained that, ever.
Trey was getting like 13 carries a game or so. He was on pace to be running the ball like a running back, more than the other running backs on the team. And why do you ask Trey Lance to run on 2nd and 8 in the second quarter when you're winning and your running backs are running well, it's not necessary. So what you're saying is you don't care if your quarterback gets hurt, because you have to acknowledge that there's a way bigger risk of him getting hurt running between the tackles and staying in the pocket. All the rules protect a quarterback. Tom Brady is going to could play until he's 50 years old if he wanted to, because the rules protect quarterbacks in the pocket. Once you do that, you're a running back, and all of Kyle's running backs get hurt. I'm going to try to calm down.
Your dad made the best point, I thought, on Twitter when he said, "Hey, look, and I don't want to paraphrasing a little bit, but if this was a key sequence in the fourth quarter and the game was on the line and you needed to put the game away, and you ran Trey up the middle because you needed that first down to ice the game, man, that's one thing. You voluntarily threw him into the defensive line in the second quarter. And all I would say is risk versus reward. Right. What was the reward? What's the reward for running your quarterback between the tackles? Do you expect that he's going to bust one and take it the distance?
Probably not. Probably not.
Right.
Yeah.
So you
might get 4 yards, right? It's what he's averaging, 4 or 5 yards a carry.
Right. So risk reward. I mean, I said this in the Arizona game. If you looked at there were 16 runs in the Arizona start last year. Mm-hmm. I think 9 might have been designed and 7 were scrambles or the opposite. On the scrambles, Trey averaged like 13 and a half yards a carry, and he got hit like a third of the time. On the runs, he averaged 3.2 yards per carry and got hit every single time. So why would you volunteer hits on your quarterback when you're sitting in a coaching room with a defensive coordinator like D'Amico, who could tell you that maybe his goal for Sunday is to get 10 hits on Geno Smith?
Right. That's right.
And you're going to volunteer 9 on your quarterback for no reason at all. You could have literally perfect pass protection the entire game, and you're going to volunteer 9 hits on your quarterback. I mean, I explain to me what I don't know, because I don't understand that.
Well, here's when I asked the question after the game, I would say, like, I asked, why did you call that in that situation? And he made fun of me, like, well, would it have been better if I called it on 2nd and 4? Well, frankly, yes, because you might have gotten a first down if you called it on 2nd and 4. Here's my thing. He called a quarterback draw on 3rd and 6 on the first drive, and it worked. He got 7 yards, first down. I like that call. You're going against a substitute lighter defense that's expecting a pass, probably a light box, probably 5-6 in the box, 2 safeties back. A quarterback draw. I mean, you're not going to get hit hard. That's a good call. On 2nd and 8, you're not getting a first down. You're not getting a touchdown. You might get 4 yards, but what is the reward there? What is when we watched Russell Wilson with the Seahawks for years, you knew he'd keep it maybe once a game, but you didn't know when it was going to happen, and it was going to be for a touchdown or a key first down in the fourth quarter. Not
and it
2nd and 8.
And it was almost always on bootlegs or outside. There's
never between the tackles.
The line of demarcation is inside or outside the tackle box. If you want to run your quarterback outside the tackle box, I'm all for it. I'm really all for it. Get to the edges, spread teams wide, run the ball like crazy, play action pass, bootleg off of it. Now you got Trey in open spaces against one defender, make a move, that kind of thing. I totally get it. To run him up the middle on a 3-4 football team that has Al Woods at 350 pounds in the middle. The other 2 guys are houses. Their 3-4 are just, there's a lot of big bodies in there. And then the other thing is I've been trying to figure out in my head, who does Trey remind me of when I'm watching him? Who is it that he reminds me of? And the guy that he reminds me of is William Floyd. And I say that because William Floyd was a high effort between the tackles fullback, but his constant second and third effort and his refusal to go down exposed his legs to the defense. And it was just a matter of time before somebody ripped up his ACL. Sure enough, Saints, Niners at Candlestick, exact play I'm talking about, second effort, twisting, turning. Somebody hit him the wrong way, tears the ACL, done for the year, career never the same. And it's
it's lucky that Trey Lance didn't. It's lucky that Trey Lance didn't tear his ACL. How about that for a silver lining? Could have been his knee.
Could have been his knee. I mean, now we've seen Dak come back from the ankle and he looks all right. But when you can't expose your legs to the defense, I don't care if you're 25 pounds heavier and 3 inches shorter and you have really, really stout legs. You can't expose your legs to the defense and allow that. It's just not sustainable. So I get the idea of having a mobile quarterback. I get the idea of using that mobile quarterback. I don't get the idea of quarterback power, quarterback draws up the middle with a quarterback and letting him push the pile with his head and exposing his legs. This could have happened in camp. It could have happened in the preseason. It was destined to happen and happen soon. And sure enough, week 2.
I also don't get Kyle just totally giving up on running Trey to the perimeter. Like, they act like he's slow. He's not slow. Josh Allen runs a 4.75, and the Bills get him on the perimeter routinely. Why can't the Niners do that? He has to run between the tackles? No, I don't think so. I think the Niners haven't figured out how to get him on the perimeter. And I think that's, again, Kyle tried to act like this whole year of putting Trey on the shelf was the best way to develop him, when I think it actually did him a disservice. He was inexperienced. The pandemic took away a year from him. He needed reps. And now you put him in a situation where he was on the bench for 2 years. I don't think that did him any favors. And now he's in a situation where he's going to be on the bench for 3 years, coming off a serious injury. I feel bad for him. We're going to talk about his future in a minute. Anything else you want to say about the mismanagement of Trey?
Well, I mean, don't tell me Josh Allen. I've watched the Bills. They don't use Josh Allen this way, in this manner, this often. So I'd like to know who's the comp. Who's the quarterback that has had a lengthy, productive career? Because that's what I'm sure Kyle wanted for Trey Lance. Who's the quarterback who's had a lengthy, productive career running between the tackles? Go ahead.
That much, 14 times a game.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to know. Can't picture anybody. Can't envision it. And this is going to be, unfortunately, Kyle lost a lot of support in the last 24 hours. A lot.
We're going to talk about that. Actually, Glass Half Full guy's going to talk about it right now. I'm kind of coming around to the idea of replacing Kyle with Sean Payton, because I don't think Payton would have done what Kyle did. We're going to talk about that. The thing with Kyle is, good coach. What is his deal with the quarterback position? Is he ever going to get it? You didn't want Mahomes. You didn't want Brady. You got Lance. Do you want Lance? You ruined Lance. Now you got Jimmy again. At a certain point, you got to get the quarterback position right if you're a genius.
Well, and let's talk about this. Nobody wants to talk about this, but Kyle Shanahan, I'll give him that he's a great NFL coach, despite the fact he's sub 500, because I think he's as good a play caller and play sequencer as there is in the league. But let's be totally frank and honest about this. Being a play caller and a play sequencer and that kind of skill set is a totally different skill set than, I'm looking at those 10 quarterbacks and those 8 guys can't play and those 2 guys can play and that guy who can play is a starter and the other guy's a Hall of Famer. Just because you can call plays, just because you can devise plays, doesn't mean that you can handpick quarterbacks. They're different skill sets.
I'm not sure he's a head coach. I know he's a great play designer, but if he can't evaluate the quarterback position or coach it, then what is he? He's a coordinator, and you need someone else who can do that. So big year for Kyle. AmTodd99 says, with Trey, the season could have been great even without a Super Bowl win. Now with PSJ, it's Super Bowl or bust, because next offseason will be a circus. Your channel, though, the Niners always provide. But, yeah, we're going to be talking at length about the Niners' future, because it's very murky what's going to be happening beyond this year. Steven says,
a lot of unknowns for sure.
Apparently all those plays Kyle Shanahan was drawing up for Trey Lance post-meeting with Fields was QB power. Brilliant. The jokes just write themselves. Kyle said. We could attack it from any angle. The lack of creativity, the risk reward factor, what's best for Trey, there's all kinds of angles on this thing, and Kyle's is just going to defend it to the death. He's literally going to defend it till the very end. But again, the whole idea was, he was saying, look, I'm not playing Trey Lance's rookie year because I want to develop him the right way, right? That was what it was all about.
That's a great idea. It was a great plan.
I don't want to use him as a running back. I want to develop him the right way. Okay, well, you sat him for a year. And now week 1 leads the team in rushing. Week 2, you do it again. So don't tell me that. Clearly, whatever you were saying, you didn't necessarily believe in, or you changed your mind. I can't take your word at face value anymore.
And then I think Kyle going forward, let's talk about, we can't change the past, but going forward, it might be time to simplify your system if it's going to take quarterbacks more than a full year to grasp it and actually be, good in it. I mean, we saw Matt Ryan took him. There was a huge difference between year 1 and year 2. And then he sits Trey for the entire last year. But then, so Trey can't go through a training camp, a regular season, another training camp after the end of an off season. And even then, and a full preseason. And even then, he's still, because your system's so complicated, right, is you still have to use him on quarterback powers and quarterback draws because he still doesn't have full grasp of your system. If your system's that complicated, and seeing the NFL clock for what it is, you may want to streamline your system.
Meanwhile, Mike McDaniel has Tua playing like Dan Marino in week 2.
Yeah, that also was noticed.
Ricky says to all the haters saying Trey's injury is his own fault. Yes, Bananahan said it was an option, could have handed it off, but Trey made the right read on the play. But it's Bananahan's fault for recklessly calling that. Yeah, I mean, it's not like Trey had a choice. The defense dictates the move, and if your option is hand it off or run between the tackles, the first time he actually read it incorrectly. He handed it off to Debo. He should have kept it. Debo had to make a guy miss and then went for 51. So I kind of feel like Kyle came back to that play and was like, hey, do it correctly, Trey. Execute the play correctly. And he did execute the play correctly this time and got hurt. El Marbro says, I'm disappointed that barely any of the mainstream media outlets are holding Kyle accountable. They brush off Trey's injury because of Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, the narrative immediately shifted to, oh, Jimmy looks great. He's still handsome. He's still got it. Like, what about what happened to Trey? I don't know. That's how I.
Well, and then here it goes worse. It's worse than that. I watched the entire thing on the binocs from the media, media level there in the stadium. So I had a chance to watch the downfield coverage and all the downfield stuff. If Trey Lance had thrown the ball deep yesterday, the way that Garoppolo threw the ball deep, there would be 19 guys as we speak in a studio cutting videos talking about his dramatic inaccuracy down the field. Right. Jimmy was terrible. Right. He was terrible throwing the ball down the field. Right. He floated all kinds of terrible passes. I don't think he hit anybody in stride. Every receiver had to adjust to the ball in flight. He looked better last year than he looked in this game. He
didn't do anything all offseason, right?
He looked like he didn't do anything all offseason, and he looked like he wasn't involved at all in the preparation for this game.
Right. Exactly. It was a cluster. Josh Wyatt says he's devastated this morning. No silver lining. I feel you, Josh. Giovanni says, you think Trey can be still be the starter next year? To be determined. Who knows? Let's see he hasn't even had surgery yet. Matt says, do you think we can get end of 2017 contract year Jimmy playing free and loose for a new contract? Well, it looked like he was trying to do that with some of his downfield throws yesterday, but it didn't exactly work out.
His accuracy, first of all, his accuracy or lack thereof down the field is not like, we're not really sure. It's proven. Go look at the numbers. Jimmy Garoppolo on passes 30-plus yards down the field since 2017 is completing 16%. The league average is 30%. Yeah. He's not a downfield passer, and it's official, and that's why Shanahan and Lynch went and got Trey Lance, because Jimmy doesn't throw well down the field or outside the numbers, and now everybody knows it.
And that's why there's no market for him, and that's why he's a backup. All of that. The book is out on Jimmy. That's the thing. Everyone knows what he is. He's not going to magically improve or change. Little Lord Stewie says, this is some BS, Grant. Kyle and the team are never defending Trey. And why did he have an explosive offseason, worked hard with Brandon? Jimmy was just throwing passes during this offseason. Their Super Bowl run is hurt without Trey. Little Lord Stewie's having a bad morning. I feel you, man. I'm sorry. I tried to help. I'm sorry. Quality control did its best. Don't blame us. Jamar says, wasn't Jimmy's contract incentive based on games played when at first it was supposed to be a set deal? Yeah, I mean, so Jimmy's going to make a lot of money this year if he stays healthy. Good for him.
From what I had read on that contract a couple days after the restructure was that many of those incentives were tied to last year's things, and that he was not destined to get the full $16 million, but he was going to get, a good chunk of that $16 million, whether he played a lot or not this year. So I would imagine he's going to get every penny of that. 16 million and then some. That would be my guess, is that he's going to wind up getting every penny of those incentives.
I agree. Lorenzo says Kyle better win the Super Bowl or I'm done with him. I think that's how a good segment of the Niner fans feel right now. Wanderer says, I have many things I want to say, but I'll say this. I've seen many Niner fans be so unbothered by this injury like nothing happened. How can people not be furious at Kyle? He may have cost the future. It's interesting. I mean, there's been a lot of people who are very upset about this and want Kyle run out of town. So I think there's a whole spectrum of emotions going on right now, I would say.
I think Kyle Shanahan is, I mean, let's call it for what it is. He's got tremendous goodwill built up because people look what he was coming on the heels of and look what he's delivered thus far. And if you hear him speak about the team, it's perfectly obvious that he's thoroughly competent as far as his, football knowledge and that kind of thing. Nobody would question it. But this was a horrendous decision, and it comes down to risk reward. Don't tell me, hey, I made a bet, but I won, and that's why it was a good bet. A good bet's not every bet that you win is not a good bet. It just means that you won. And this happens to be a horrendous bet because you risked a ton and you were gaining very little and you lost.
John Farr says Kyle can't handle having a running quarterback. Look at RG3 as well. Might as well go for Cousins, trade Lance, and be done. They're not getting Cousins. I think Minnesota wants Cousins. But yeah, I mean, this is rough. Again, you said Kyle's stock is way down. Look at what his resume is now. You did it to RG3. You did it to Lance. I mean, you haven't developed a quarterback yet. So his stock is down. Take a couple more, and then we're going to get back to our show, and then we'll come back to the rest. GTC Real says QB sneak fine. Edge runs fine, not QB power. Yeah, quarterback sneak is easy. It's like a low-impact play. No problem with that.
Problem with that.
Why keep 4 running backs on the roster if you're running your wide receiver and quarterback for the run game and not use all the running? Why do you have Jordan Mason on the team if you're going to run Debo and Trey the whole time? That's a great question, Chris. All right, let's get back to our topics. So
what do you need a 240-pound running back who runs incredibly hard for when you could use your star wide receiver or your future quarterback, number one?
Okay. So Trey Lance.
I mean, I know that's salty, but I mean, seriously, that happened.
It's true. Larry, we need to talk about Trey Lance's future because it's uncertain. I mean, I think some Niner fans would like to think, all right, he'll rehab and he'll just be the starter next year and they'll pick up where they left off. Yeah, the problem with that is this is another year on the bench. He's still the same inexperienced guy he was 2 years ago. 3 years on the bench, coming off a serious injury. I don't know that they can just throw him out there as the starter without some type of a hedge like they had this year. And I don't think the hedge can be Jimmy Garoppolo again. So what do you think Trey Lance's future is? And do the Niners need another quarterback to add to this room next year?
Wow. I mean, I like Brock Purdy, to be honest. I think Brock Purdy's, kind of like a Kirk Cousins. I mean, I think
like
he is.
He's a backup, but I'm not sure that he's a future starter. I'm just saying. I like him as a backup.
And that's fine. I mean, and I think he's on, to me, there's no doubt he's a good backup.
That's what I agree with.
Because he's cheap and he's smart. But
I'm thinking like a first-round pick at quarterback.
I mean,
because he's going to do a bunch of good ones next year.
Here's the question. Do you keep investing assets in quarterbacks unless you hire somebody on your staff who at some point in their coaching career has developed a quarterback or at least has, a reputation for developing quarterbacks? Because right now you've got, a young starter in Trey who's now hurt. You have a quarterback coach who's never done it before, even though he played in the league. And once again, is playing in the league the equivalent of coaching the position? Kyle's a great play caller. He's proven in the league, but can he develop a quarterback? Gracie's a former NFL quarterback. He played in the league, but can he develop a quarterback? Instead of kind of discovering if any of these coaches can develop a quarterback, how about go find a coach that has developed a quarterback and bring that guy in as some on your staff as your as your offensive quality control or your quarterback coach or your OC or whatever title you want to give him. How about a quarterback, somebody who really has developed young quarterbacks?
That's true.
That would be nice. That was what the 49ers had in Mike Holmgren back in the Joe Steve days. They at least had a quarterback coach who had, was kind of a proven quarterback coach. And then, of course, he went and developed Favre after that. And, so, I'd like to see maybe a proven coach and maybe a streamlined offense from Kyle because it seems maybe overly complex for young quarterbacks to grasp.
Here's the problem, though, and why it's extra complicated. If the Niners decide they need another quarterback next year, one, they don't have a first-round pick, and two, how do you trust Kyle Shanahan to pick the next one? He picked Trey and tried to develop Trey his way. How do you trust him to do it again? I think if they actually have to bring in another quarterback next year, I don't know that Kyle's the right guy for that. I know you're saying bring in a good quarterback coach, but that guy has to work with whoever Kyle picks.
No more first-round picks on quarterbacks either for the foreseeable. First of all, you don't have any. Well, I'm just saying it's like, you know what? You just
after the first round.
I know, but you just invested some serious assets in a quarterback. Unless the one's staring you down that you totally believe in, I think I'd rather take a chance on trying to find one some other way. And now it kind of makes the Stafford thing look, at least Stafford, would have been a ready-made quarterback that didn't need developing. And in reality, looking back at it, I think that's probably what Kyle needed, much more so than a raw piece of clay like Trey Lance, who, he's got huge talent, but his future is predicated on your ability to coach him up.
They could go get Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, he might get traded before the end of this deal.
They don't have first-round picks to trade.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't.
They'd probably make him a pocket player and never run him.
Who do you think will be in the Niners quarterback room next year, heading into week 1? Trey, Brock, and who? Anyone else? Trey, Brock, and a third?
Trey, Brock, and some
mid-round pick?
No, I think he'll be a veteran. I think he'll be a veteron. I think Trey,
James
Brock,
Richard Garoppolo.
I mean, it's all there for Garoppolo at this point. If he plays well, how do you get rid of him now if he plays well? What if Garoppolo? I mean, the 49ers still have, any way you slice it, a top 3 or 4 roster in the conference. So is the season over? No. You could make an argument they've got a better chance to win the Super Bowl this year than last year based on the personnel around the quarterback. But if Jimmy can step up his game, step up everything, stay healthy. Personally, I would not be shocked if we see Brock Purdy, and I'll make a prediction right here. Brock Purdy will win a game this year for the 49ers in the regular season.
You're as excited about Brock Purdy as I was about Nick Mullins, and I love that. I love that.
I'm all in on Brock Purdy.
I love that. Lucas says, do you think Kyle ran Trey between the tackles because he did it in college? If so, it's ridiculous. Now, I have a theory. Here's what I think. Kyle Shanahan didn't develop Trey as a passer. He said he was, but he didn't. He was winning games last year, and Trey was on the scout team. And so rather than reveal to the world that he really didn't work on his project, he just used him as a runner to sort of conceal the fact that he hadn't improved as a passer because Kyle didn't develop him. And when he got hurt, the narrative will be, oh, well, Trey just got hurt, not Kyle didn't develop him. Trey just got hurt, one of those things. Kyle, might have done a good job as a coach. We don't know. One of those things. I think that's what happened. I think
it's a situation where they took a quarterback who was the most raw quarterback in our lifetime coming out of the first round. I mean, it's 4 decades since the last time a guy had this few of passes in college and went in the first round of the draft. So I don't remember the NFL before that point. So basically in our entire life, this is the most raw quarterback he's ever seen. Yeah. Then let's break it down. Trey throws the deep ball well, but where Trey struggles is in the short game. Your footwork has to be perfect. One bad step, you're off. One bad, if your footwork's not tight, if your reps, so he hasn't repped it enough, so he's not consistent enough in the short and intermediate stuff. So he's missing a lot of those short and intermediate throws. So Kyle just said, we'll replace the short and intermediate throws with a whole slew of runs, and there we go.
Yep.
We'll handle it that way, but those runs put your quarterback in harm's way.
Again, I'll never understand when Kyle was so comfortable calling games where Jimmy did nothing. Handoff, throw 10 passes. Why wasn't Trey allowed to do that? Trey needed to be the leading rusher while the other running backs were running well. Never will make sense to me. Chris Tellerico says Kyle may have just cost the kid his career. Next season, Trey needs to request a trade. He's going to start for this team again he's not going to start for this team again because of Kyle. I'm not so sure. I don't know. I mean, Kyle could be real stubborn and be like, he'll be back. We'll do it again next year. And he might just run him between the tackles again next year.
I'd love to hear what Trey's mom and dad have to say about the way Trey was used.
I'd like to know.
I'd like to know as well, because I think they probably would not be too pleased.
No, absolutely not. Jamar says, I'd seen the team turn once Jimmy entered. I mean, they're playing Seattle. I think they were going to win. It's not like the defense started playing better once Jimmy got in. I'm just saying. What you talking about, Willis says, y'all feel it odd that Kyle seems so facetious about Trey's injury. This is Kyle's guy. His pick didn't get any sense of remorse. It's so weird. I don't know if he wasn't remorseful, but he was very defensive, which is his go-to. So, I don't know. Abstract JWL says, I have to apologize to Grant. He said in preseason, Kyle planned to run Trey up the gut and use him up in 3 years. I called him crazy for thinking he'd waste 3 first-rounders like that. I was wrong. I mean, when I saw them start to install the triple option, I started thinking, I don't. And when they brought back Jimmy, it gave him license to just run him with no conscience. Hey, I'm Kyle Shanahan. I say this is the best way to use him. If he gets hurt, I got Jimmy right here. They were installing the triple option. There's a reason teams don't run that in the NFL. You know why? Quarterbacks get hurt. It's a quarterback-driven league. It's very important to keep them healthy. I'm just saying. It's usually why. All right, we're going to come back to more of your comments in a minute. Let's talk about Kyle Shanahan's future with the 49ers. Earlier in the show, you said his stock is way down. How far? And what does he need to do this year to bring it back?
He needs to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And when I say that, I mean, he had 2 goals going into yesterday: develop Trey Lance and win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Now one of those goals is off the table for the year. There'll be no developing Trey Lance. So now it comes down to win the Super Bowl. And guess what? Now you got a veteran quarterback. You still have a suitable backup quarterback, in my opinion, and you've got a stacked roster. So now the expectations for the Super Bowl go up. And I'd love to have seen, because I heard somebody say that the 49ers odds on winning the Super Bowl went up after this injury.
Okay.
That would be interesting. But I think those are the 2 goals entering the year: develop Trey. And if you can't develop Trey, win the Super Bowl. If you can't win the Super Bowl, at least develop Trey. Now, if this season's going to be productive, they're not going to develop Trey. They need to contend for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, because the future is totally murky. We have no idea who the quarterback will be next year.
Or what the roster will look like.
No idea. And if they need a new quarterback, it's unclear that Kyle Shanahan is the right guy to pick him and coach him. So for Kyle Shanahan to justify his – because look, good coach, but as you said, this is a top 3 roster, right? I'm thinking
your best player is 34.
I'm thinking a lot of coaches could win a Super Bowl with this roster. Bill Belichick, Sean McVay, Sean Payton. There are coaches who could win. Kyle, you got it. You've had it for a few years. Don't mess this up. You've been given a great team. You can't figure out the quarterback spot. You can't keep people healthy. You need to win this year. Otherwise, there are good coaches who might want your job. I think in the past, Niner fans are always like, we don't want to go back to the Chip Kelly days. Man, hold on. If you get rid of Shanahan, it's John Lynch leading the search, not Trent Baalke. And this is a very good team. I think you could get someone like Sean Payton who's interested. And Sean Payton is a champion who could probably figure out the quarterback position. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I won't get into speculating who's next, because who knows? I mean, there might be somebody we're not even thinking of that is a phenomenal prospect. I haven't even given that any thought. But I think ultimately, look at this team. George Kittle he's not old, but he might as well be old. He might as well be old because he gets hurt. He gets hurt a lot like an old guy. Jimmy Ward, his best days are right now. Trent Williams, his best days are right now. Deebo Samuel, the style of play that he plays, his best football is being played right now. The best players on their team are in their go years right now. So, yeah, absolutely. They have to contend for a Super Bowl. And when I say contend, that means they got to wind up in the conference title game and preferably win it. If they don't wind up in the NFC Championship game, there is no way anybody can say with a straight face this has been a productive, good year. To me, you have to appear in the NFC Championship game, and to have it be a successful year and to have it be a real successful year, you got to advance beyond that game.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting to look like the Niners version of Mark Jackson. Like, he can get him to a certain spot, but he's always going to be his own worst enemy at the end. So if the Niners have a top-level Super Bowl roster and everyone agrees, and there are a lot of really high-level coaches who want to coach this team, and here's the kicker. No one says fire Kyle Shanahan. That's because, of course, he would get a job right away. What's so not interesting about this situation is the Niners don't have a first-round pick next year. They need one. They might need to draft a quarterback. There might be a good one available. How can they get a first-round pick? Trade Kyle Shanahan. Trade Kyle Shanahan. He is a trade chip. And I'm not saying you have to. If he wins the Super Bowl, keep Kyle Shanahan. But if he's not what you want and you think you can get someone better, is it like, would you rather have so-and-so who's won a Super Bowl plus a first-round pick or Kyle? That's a good decision to make. And Jed needs to feel powerful right now. He's in a good spot. He's got a good team with a good roster. Don't be beholden to Kyle if he's not good enough.
Well, and maybe it's time to have a real frank discussion about where you're at, where the franchise is at, what everybody's goals are, and how to achieve those goals. Who knows? Maybe the best goal or the best move for the 49ers is after Minnesota falls short again, trade Trey in some package for Kirk Cousins and picks. Now you got Trey back in the state of Minnesota where he's a hero and they've got a young team and they can dream the dream of Lance to Jefferson, and Kyle can get his handpicked quarterback and get down the road. I mean, that I'm just thinking of what's a solution that may be a win-win. Maybe that's a win-win. Maybe Trey gets to play in his home state and Kyle gets his quarterback and maybe a pick or two along the way, and
what
everybody
is Trey
moves
Lance's
on.
Trade value? Coming off 3 years on the bench and a serious broken ankle. What is his trade value really? I mean, Kyle really messed up. He really, really messed up.
I mean, I got to think after watching Dak come back that he won't. It's a serious injury, but I don't think it's going to diminish the kid's career. It's not
Dak
like
was proven. Trey hasn't played. I mean,
No,
this
I know.
is all
I
very
know.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Trey, I don't think Trey, we talked about this many times. Every time you come into the NFL, there's a race at the quarterback spot, especially. Can you learn what to do before you get physically beat up and like you're diminished physically? I don't think this injury is going to diminish Trey physically. But man, it ain't going to help. It's going to, and obviously it's going to delay his development.
It delays his development. That's what I'm saying. So next year, is he going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL? Which team is going to say, you know what, we want Trey Lance coming off 3 years on the bench and a serious injury to be our starting quarterback on faith? When the Niners would, I mean, I just don't know. I feel so bad for him. He might
in
have
some ways, I like Trey, and I think I would stay with Trey, but I could see where if you moved him, whoever gets him, there's a lot less pressure because they didn't invest in this big trade up to get him, and maybe it would be best for him to move on. I mean, I'm just saying,
1st round picks for him, and now you're going to trade low and trade him away for they wouldn't take the L on Jimmy Garoppolo, and they're going to they won't they can't.
It's probably the smart move not to do that, to stay with Trey. But I'm just saying, let's just say, if Jed came to Kyle and said, "Hey, look, Kyle, love you. You've done a lot of good things, but you got a year. You got 2 years to make it happen." Maybe he doesn't want to invest those 2 years into quarterbacks that he's not sure of. Maybe he says, you know what, if I only got 2 years, I don't care about value. Give me a quarterback I actually believe in, and we'll go from there. And we know he believes in Kirk Cousins. That's all I'm saying.
I just feel like he picked Trey, right? I mean, he's had his choice. Did he?
I mean, did he? Or did the organization pick Trey? I don't know. He says he did.
Irfan says, what did you think on that Silver report that came out after Trey got injured? That the team thinks they're better with Jimmy? I mean, I believe him. It's pretty clear that they act that way. I saw Silver in the locker room. I know who he was talking to. I'm not going to say, but I believe it. Sean O'Leary says, running quarterback to extend plays and escape trouble. Great. Running quarterback on a team that knows how to rush the ball. Otherwise, no, thank you. Yes, that's what I'll never understand. You didn't need him to run the ball. Yeah, it's a nice addition, but it's not like you were struggling to run the ball. It's not like you're like, oh my God, we need these
you chose to use. There was no pressure on you to use them this way. No. You chose to use them this way. You have to own it.
Ricky says, regardless of how you feel about the kid, it's honestly gross that people trash Trey when he's already down. Some of the biggest, people are like, well, I guess he wasn't ready, was he? Like, ooh, that's about as insensitive as you could be.
Yeah.
The Gold Rush 561 says, I think we keep JL and bring in Eric Bieniemy. I come to the realization that Kyle Shanahan wants to be the face of the franchise and doesn't want Trey Lance to take over. Kyle Shanahan, fire Kyle. Eric doesn't have that ego. I don't know. Eric concerns me a little bit in that he doesn't call plays, and I don't know. I would like someone like who's proven. I don't know. Eric Bieniemy hasn't gotten the job, and it seems like he has some bad stuff in the past, but I don't know. Maybe. Josh Wyatt says, this is why I couldn't believe they would run Trey Lance? Why didn't they start him last year if this was the plan? Develop Trey the right way, right? Like if you're just going to run him 14 times a game, he could have played last year.
It kind of makes you realize that the setup was like he had to play this year. He had to play, and it's like, what if he wasn't ready? Then he shouldn't have been playing.
Right.
But if they felt like they had to play him to justify the transaction, then man, I mean, they really chose a high risk, high reward, high risk, low reward way to utilize him, which is just nonsense.
F.U. Jobu, I do it myself, says, I was furious to see John Lynch smiling, laughing, rubbing elbows, pressing palms, and entertaining. I was sick after that injury, no smiling. It's a very strange organization, what the situation they put themselves in. Mr. Meaner says Seattle didn't game plan for Jimmy, hence why they locked him down in the second half. Teams will stack the box, make him throw under pressure. Yeah, the book's out on Jimmy. Everyone has a game plan against Jimmy. They know what to do. Jamar says, please bring up Kyle Shanahan past comments to him. I will. Of course I will. I'm going to say, Kyle.
Tell me when you're going to do that. I'd love to.
It's a fair question. I'm not going to be argumentative. I'm just going to say, Kyle, a year ago, you said this to Ed Werder. I'll read the quote. And I said, can you explain this quote given how much Trey Lance ran when that's a fair question. He has to answer that. And if he gets mad at me for asking it, that's a bad answer.
Yeah, it is. I think it is a fair question since it's his own statement.
Who said it? What changed? How do you explain that? Please. He has to answer it. And if he gets defensive and doesn't answer it, that's an answer too. Because frankly, there's no answer. He can't unsay that. He contradicted himself. And as you said at the beginning of the show, he predicted the future. He predicted Trey's injury. He said the game's too physical. It is. You're right, Kyle. You're absolutely right.
The thing about confronting Kyle with any of these things is that I've never really heard him say, you know what, I did this. I blew it.
Yeah.
It's on me. I mean, some guys do that way too much, right? Yep. They're just constantly, it's on me. It's on me. I mean, and it's almost like, playing to the crowd. Right. Kyle doesn't have that BS in him, but I mean, you're the guy. Yeah. It's your show. The GM's your handpicked guy. The whole show is your show. Yeah,
you don't have to say it's on you if it's not, but this one was on you. You could say it. 808 Niner says, Jimmy fans are dumb. Top 3 accomplishments for Jimmy are overthrowing Sanders, getting hurt, and being Jimmy when he throws the ball is either 40% incomplete, 40% pick, 20% completion, 20. Hold on. So Jimmy's been the bad guy for the Niners for a while, but now he's just a backup. I think Kyle is the one who's kind of like turning into the villain because he created this whole situation. Like Jimmy didn't ask to come to the Niners. He got traded here. Jimmy didn't create the situation. Trey didn't create the situation. Kyle did. Kyle created this whole thing. And he has to live with the results. I don't have anything against Jimmy. I've been hard on Jimmy. He's just a backup who's actually handled everything with class. So, I'm done making fun of Jimmy. It's on Kyle now. Professor Lawless says, I was at the game. The whole game I kept saying, why is he only drawn up running plays? Boom. Trey goes down, immediately calls 4 back-to-back with 6 for Jimmy. Won't be watching games while Jimmy starts. Sorry, not sorry. Thanks for the $50, man. I appreciate you.
Personally, I said this last year, all I wanted out of Kyle Shanahan was to call the same plays for Trey that he was calling for Jimmy and just let Trey use his natural athleticism to scramble around and extend plays. Like, what does Jimmy Garoppolo not do? He can't extend plays and make plays off script and buy himself that extra time. He doesn't have the arm strength. He doesn't have the foot quickness. He doesn't have it. He can't do it. He's a one read guy. And then it's like, cross your fingers. Trey was the opposite. He was more like Mahomes. He had the ability to move within the pocket and keep his eyes posted down the field and make the kind of play that he made to Debo. To me, that was like the signature play it was a broken play, but to me, that's a signature play of Trey's upside ability to make big plays down the field, buy extra time, get to an open space, keep your eyes posted down the field, and throw a laser. But that like went away. They didn't use him that way. Suddenly they said, hey, this guy's mobile. We'll just run him between the tackles like he's Earl Campbell. And it just, you just can't do that.
I went into this offseason thinking Kyle was going to build off his game plan against the Texans when actually he went and built off his game plan against Arizona. Hard to say why, but that's what happened. J.R. Beckles said, how is it that certain media is saying SF is a better football team with Jimmy today? We've seen the ending to this movie. already with Jimmy. Because I think a lot of analysts are prisoners of the moment. Maybe the Niners are better today with Jimmy Garoppolo, but maybe not. And we'll see what happens. I think the whole idea was with Lance, if you could keep him healthy, he might improve. And by the time the playoffs came around, he could be really good. I think Jimmy's going to be exactly the same.
I think this guy hits on a good point. I think they are better today. Why? Yeah. Because if you don't trust your quarterback to make the short and intermediate throws, those are the throws you got to make every day. Yeah. And if you're only going to if you don't trust Trey to make those throws and all he can do be trusted with is handoffs, then you absolutely are better off with Jimmy Garoppolo, because Jimmy is going to hit some of those throws. He's going to miss some of those throws. But guess what? That's going to be better than running in between the tackles.
Yeah. Again, I think the Niners could have won that game with Trey Lance having him hand off 50 times. I don't understand, but
I agree.
Southside Tone says Trey is not that shifty and elusive to be running him like that. It's okay to run him to maximize that option. Yep. Big Tim 3 says Jimmy Garoppolo came in and looked like the same old Jimmy G. He had a few suspect throws, underthrew 2 deep balls that turned into penalties. What does he do that's so special? Seriously, people act like that Trey can't do what Jimmy Garoppolo does. I just think it's so amazing that the Niners have had such a tough time finding an upgrade over Jimmy. He's not that great. He's not terrible, but it shouldn't be that hard to find an upgrade over Jimmy. And yet we're here. Here we are. Year 6. He's still here. Still here.
He does some things well, but once again, he's like 15 to 20 on the list of quarterbacks. And if you do your homework and print out a list of who's won the last 30 Super Bowls, you'll find out that there's really been, in the last 30 years, 3 quarterbacks that you would put in the Jimmy category that have won the Super Bowl. So you got about a 10% chance of winning the Super Bowl. And that's about what I'd give the Niners going forward with Jimmy of winning the Super Bowl. About a 10% chance.
Dustin Gale says, the Gale says, it's crazy how many people are calling this just a fluke accident and are giving Kyle a pass, even a lot of people who cover the Niners. Yeah, like, hey, that's football. Tough break, Trey. Happened to Jimmy. Now it's your turn. Now the Niners are better. Hey, isn't that fun? It's a lot of that attitude. Like, hey, oh, well, there you go. He'll be fine. Or he won't.
Couldn't have been avoided.
Yep.
It's a rough game. I think 100% injury. Yeah.
I also hear people like, well, maybe he should have protected himself. What are we supposed to slide between the tackles? There's no protecting yourself once you go between the tackles.
And if you want to argue that maybe one of the two of us or both of us at times get too critical, that's fine. But that's not critical enough.
Right. Jed, True Boxing King says Jed's a trust fund baby and Kyle's gotten a lot from his last name. They're essentially the same person, just one fam and billions is the other's millions. I can see why you would say that. Jed, it's your team. You got to do what's best for the team. You should be calling Sean Payton today just to have a conversation with him. Go get coffee with Sean. He's from San Mateo. Do you know that? San Mateo. He might. I don't know.
Vallejo, I thought he was a Vallejo guy.
I thought he grew up in Chicago, but he was born in San Mateo according to Wikipedia.
I'll tell you the name. I'll tell you the name to keep in the back of your head, and it's not going to happen tomorrow, and it's not. But Ken Dorsey.
I knew you were going to say that. Yes. Hell yeah.
Ken Dorsey.
I'm in it. I'm with it. Another Bay Area guy.
Miramani High School, very bright, really, kind of a backup quarterback skill set, but a lot of times those are the best quarterbacks, are the best teachers. The other guy who I would love to see.
Dorsey, he's coaching Josh Allen now.
Now.
If you want Trey to be Josh Allen, bring in Josh Allen's coach. Okay, keep going.
The other guy that I think is absolutely a coaching superstar, if they ever get him, is Alex Smith. I mean, ultimately, you're looking, Alex Smith is enormously bright, and he went from like where Trey is, super raw with incredible skills, great paper prospect, to actually fulfilling his potential. And he did it through film study and hard work and surgeries and challenges and adversity. And to me, I think Alex would be in some ways almost the perfect tutor for Trey. And that's if Alex wants to do it, because he's made a lot of money.
What I like about Ken Dorsey, he's worked his way up. I think he was an athletic director for a year at like a high school. I mean, he's done all kind of different stuff.
Yeah,
and
quarterback coach.
He's a coordinator, play call now. So he's really next in line. He'd be good. I like that. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's options out there. Kyle needs to. This is year 6, dude.
But to me, it doesn't have to be an either or.
Yeah.
Kyle, you can leave Kyle as the head coach. Bring in a Dorsey and let him deal with the quarterbacks, and let you just sit in your room and figure out, which linebacker you want to crucify with your play action game. You know, you focus on your play calling and play sequencing, and I'm Ken Dorsey. I'll be over here, coaching up the quarterback and getting him up to speed.
That would be
they just may need somebody.
That would be you're not getting Ken Dorsey if you don't give him a promotion. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It would, but there's no limits in the NFL to what you pay anybody, so you could literally double or triple his salary and give him the same job.
That being said, working with Josh Allen prints money for you. I'm just saying. Glass half full guy says Kyle's defensiveness and trying to bring up Josh Allen is a joke. Yeah, I mean, he's just uncouth sometimes. Like, just don't do that. I'm just saying. John Tyler GG says, as a season ticket holder, I'm freaking pissed. Freaking.
It's early in the morning. You can't drop F-bombs.
Thoughts on Coward saying draft Trey's replacement and Tannenbaum saying this is a great opportunity for Trey, but he never gave him a chance. I'm saying draft a quarterback next year too. It's terrible, but the guy's leg was bent in half. What is he in the future? I have no idea. You gotta hedge. I think hedge your bet.
Coward. Needs to. He now is even axe to grind. He needs to publicly announce that he can no longer talk about Trey because it's now uncomfortable to I actually watched his video on draft day. He's like, this is the pick. This is the guy.
This is great.
Trey, you're the man. You're the guy. You're the man. 3 starts later. I've got evidence. All right, Perry Mason.
Yeah. Eddie Marcos says, can we talk about how the locker room is behind Jimmy? That makes a big difference. They do believe in themselves when Jimmy plays. It's a phenomenon.
I think there's as many guys in that room behind Trey as there is behind Jimmy.
You heard Debo. He genuinely seemed heartbroken. He said he was. I believed him. I mean, we're both in there. You see how popular Trey is in the room. He's a very popular player. He is. D-Flow says in all this, defense can take us far. That is true. The defense is really good. Big Tim 3 says it's sad these Jimmy stands are taking this opportunity for an I told you so moment. The kid hasn't even gotten a chance. Yeah. It's a civil war of Niner fans going on right now, and Kyle created this. Randy says young, promising quarterback's going to avoid Shanahan like the plague. I can't wait to hear speaking of young, I can't wait to hear what Steve Young thinks of all this. What do you think? I can't wait.
I think Steve is frustrated to some degree about what he's seeing. And I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I just got to think he's got to be somewhat frustrated because he sees the enormous talent of Trey. He sees the unbelievable talent of Kyle. He knows that the whole thing can come together, but it isn't. And so there's a lot of frustration. And then Steve is totally cognizant of the media world, the fan world, and the instant reaction world. So he sees every aspect of this. You're right. And what he says will be very interesting.
I would think that Steve would be sensitive to the way that Trey was used. Imagine Steve being used like that. Hey, we're doing you between the tackles again. I mean, he was never used like that. So I'd love to know what Steve thinks of that. And if he thinks, well, yeah, it's football and Trey learn from it. Or if he thinks, that's really, really a shame, and it was avoidable. Because the way I feel about that injury was it was just the most avoidable thing in the world. To me,
the other thing is if all you had done with Trey was ran the Jimmy Garoppolo game plan and then showed Trey film of Steve on third down and say, Trey, if there's one thing we want you to take away from this is we would like you to play with Steve's urgency on third downs. Run the plays. When you get to third down, play with that urgency. That means if it ain't there, tuck it and run it. Yep. You get that first down no matter what. You play with the same urgency that Steve demonstrated on third down. If that's the only coaching they did, I think they would be in a better spot.
B Money says, Grant, big fan. Keep it going, man. Larry, big fan as well. Enjoyed seeing you on the farm at the UCLA game last year. I was there too.
Nice.
B-Money, thank you very much. They don't call him B-Money for nothing.
Look at that.
All right, back to our show. Should we talk Jimmy Garoppolo's future? I don't really feel like it. He's going to be on the team this year. If he plays well, we'll figure it out. We're running out of time. Forget Jimmy's good. He's the backup. We'll see. It doesn't really. Let's talk about Talanoa Hufanga. This team is still alive. This defense is really freaking good, and this is the early star of the defense. Talanoa, you were right about him. I was like, I don't know about Talanoa. You were like, no, he's really good. Hey, what do you think of Talanoa so far?
First of all, this player was the defensive player of the year in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, he was just SC's, but no. It wasn't like, he's just a good, no. He was the best defensive player in the entire conference.
Yeah.
So that tells you he's special. And then when I talked to him on draft day, he was so quiet and so reserved. And I was like, is this even the same player I'm watching? I'm watching a player at SC with his hair on fire.
Right.
And he sounds so calm and,
like and
laid back.
You know what I mean?
And then you watch him go about his business. And we were both there at minicamp. Yeah. And he's right there out on the field first with D'Amico, and he's talking about, I put my hand here and he goes there, and they're talking through scenarios on blitz on blitzing the quarterback and how to get there and hand usage and and every time you watched him, every time the team reconvened, whether it be in minicamp, then training camp, he was always better and faster and in better shape and more respected. Then you talk to the other players. I talked to Jimmy Ward this week. Jimmy Ward was like, this guy has instincts, and he combines those instincts with an incredible diligence in going about film study. And if you have instincts, and then I said, Jimmy, at his essence, Jimmy, what makes Hufanga? And he looked me right in the eye, Grant, and he's like, no hesitation. When he sees it, he doesn't hesitate. Jimmy's like, he who hesitates loses. Hufanga doesn't hesitate. He sees it, he attacks it. And right now, he's a force in the run game. Force.
And he's breaking on passes, too. I think he's a great fit for this team because they have such a ferocious pass rush. You need someone who's instinctual and breaking quickly and taking advantage, not just hanging back. And that's him. I've been saying that this defense needs a playmaker. He's the one. Yep. And what's great about him is he's a playmaker against the run and the pass. The only thing I want to say about Hufanga, we saw it week 1, is that he's so aggressive that if the play extends, if it goes beyond 2 seconds and the quarterback gets out of the pocket, he might be the one that's just chasing around. You know what I mean? So he needs to, and that'll come with experience, but
he needs to play
late in the down.
And also, I mean, the big question is, can teams isolate him and make him play pass coverage down the field? That's his weakness.
No.
In the cover 3, where he can be a box safety. Yep. In that situation, I think I said it in camp. I think Jimmy Ward and Hufanga could be the strength of the 49er defense, because Ward is an absolute monster as a cover 3 guy and covering the field because he's got those corner instincts and abilities. And then Hufanga's a genius at the line of scrimmage. So those 2 guys, the backups, but the starting caliber safeties are absolutely incredible.
Hold on. Can we give Gibson some credit? I mean, he had a pick in the last game.
Oh, Tayshaun.
Yes, he almost had one.
That was a great pickup by the Niners.
I like Gibson.
We both were pushing. I'll say when I'm wrong, and I was wrong. I was wrong calling for Tart, because Tart is an athlete, but he's never going to be a productive interceptor. Gibson had 27 career picks. Now he's got 28. Yep, and he's got great instincts for it.
I like him. So that's a nice
he's going to get more.
And so the Niners secondary really has improved, and Talanoa in particular is making this defense even better when it was already elite.
And he doesn't come early or late. It's like the same way a great quarterback's got to be on time. If you're going to play the way Hufanga plays, you can't arrive early and you can't arrive late. And his timing, he's on time. So like when you see a coordinated rush and the ball comes out quick, he arrives at the ball carrier right as the ball does and makes an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael Young says Kyle still didn't learn because he turned around and called the read option for Jimmy at like the 10-yard line. That's what killed me. Explain that. Like, you already lost Trey for the year.
That's a post-presser. That's a post-presser play call. Why? That's a play call that you make so you can defend whatever you did in the game at the post-presser. That was like, hey, you know what? I use Jimmy the way it wasn't about Trey. This is my offense. This is the way I use the quarterback. Has nothing to do with Trey. I'm not anti-Trey. I'm not pro-Trey. This is my system. And that's a call. That's an ultra stubborn call by a guy who's got one eye on the game and one eye on the post-game presser. I bet you called that play with your face in his head. I saw Grant Cohn when he called that play.
I hope so. I like to think that he has like a dartboard at home with my face and he's just going to town on it. You know what I mean? King Gio says Arch Manning will be here soon. Watch. Hey, but there's good quarterbacks that come out every year. every year. Just
I
keep
like the kid from
trying until you
Kentucky.
get one.
I like the kid from Kentucky, Will Levis.
Yes!
Check him
I
out.
like him.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of quarterbacks. Don't just, just saying. Ricky Miranda says, why do we trust Kyle with quarterbacks? He got all of them hurt during his time at SF. Trey, Jimmy, CJ Mullins. Yeah, I'm trying to say that too. And what's up with Jimmy this year? He's got no Lakin, no Alex Mack. He's got 15 more games to go, bud.
Don't even know. That didn't even mention CJ Beathard in the third round.
Ooh. Watch, Niners will bring Sudfeld back. Hooray. No, he's got a job. Here's the thing. So the Niners need a new quarterback, right? They need a third guy for practices, but they can't sign someone off of someone's practice squad to put on their practice squad. So they're going to have to sign someone off the street. Who's he going to be? Josh Johnson? Is Josh Johnson going to Josh Johnson route, or does he have a job? He might have a job.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and how old is Josh Johnson at this point? Yeah, exactly.
Seriously. Sean Foster, thank you very much. Ronald Keys, it's not Kyle's fault for Trey being injured. It's his fault for trading 3 first-round picks for a quarterback with limited experience. Should have drafted Parsons instead. Can't trade. They shouldn't have traded up. They shouldn't have traded up.
Well, I mean, think about it this way. The trade-up was fine. How about Jamar Chase?
3 first-round picks for a non-quarterback? That's tough. But, yeah, I mean, at least he's a great player. At least you get an all-pro.
He's the modern-day Jerry Rice.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. A good point. Jesus says, Grant, what do you think the excuses will be for Jimmy fans if the team doesn't make the Super Bowl, let alone the championship? It seems like Jimmy fans are real cool just making the playoffs and calling that a win. There's a segment, I mean, maybe Jed like that too. They just want to feel like they're in the upper echelon of the league and they're competent and they're consistent, and that's fun. Play in January. Nathan says, side, Jimmy Punt Fake going to be here forever. Great job, Banana Hands. Conley's Jimmy to win. Segment head, I'll be up in Denver as well. See you there. Go Niners. See you there, Nathan. BP says, Jimmy Garoppolo was replaced to improve the pass, but with Trey, we kept running. Could Jimmy Garoppolo not hand off? The run game was already good. Why run Trey? This is Kyle Shanahan's fault. Yeah, that's a good point. The running game was already good. It's not like you were super and that's the thing in Buffalo with Josh Allen. They don't have a run game without Josh Allen, essentially. It's something they have to do.
And what do they do in Buffalo? I mean, they don't really have a true number one. I mean, they have Singletary. They've got Zach Moss, who fumbles a lot. And then they picked up James Cook, who's they're going to throw it to. But what they have is Gabe Davis and the kid from Maryland. And, they've got some nice receivers, too.
Mike Baker says Jay Leno versus Conan O'Brien all over again.
Which one's Jay?
I never really found those guys funny. Professor Lawless says, I was at the game, 5 rows from the field. They all had big smiles going to the half. Guarantee that would not be the mood if it was Jimmy with another sprained thumb. Just sad, man. Yeah, I just don't understand why. Everyone said Trey was put in the best situation of any young quarterback ever. In retrospect, it was the worst situation. He was in a no-win situation. The locker room didn't want to start over. Didn't.
It was complicated because the incumbent Garoppolo had taken them to, a lot of success, or had been there for a lot of success, and the expectations. I mean, let's be honest. The fan base is impatient, but who's more impatient, Kyle and John, to win a Super Bowl, Jed, or the fan base? I think everybody. We all have to own that we were all impatient. The media wasn't going to wait for Trey. Kyle wasn't going to wait for Trey. Lynch wasn't going to wait for Trey. The fan base, nobody wanted. The wait for Trey to develop was a theory, but nobody actually had the patience in reality. I know that the media didn't, and I could sense the fans didn't. And Kyle seems really impatient. So it was like they had to get him out there. They couldn't just sit him, but they didn't trust him fully to run their whole package. So then they developed all these runs and they put him in harm's way, and now he's hurt.
What's sad is if it was Josh Allen, a young Josh Allen instead of Trey, and they had Jimmy Garoppolo, they would have done the same thing would have happened. Josh would have struggled. The team would have wanted to go back to Jimmy. They would have ran Josh. He would have got hurt. The same freaking thing would have happened. So what's interesting is you compare him to Josh Allen. One of the reasons Josh Allen worked out is he was a project who got to go to a rebuilding team, and they all grew together. Trey didn't get that opportunity. He had to be ready as soon as he hit the field like Patrick Mahomes, and that was never going to happen. So
yeah,
we're in a tough spot.
I mean, look at Trevor Lawrence, same thing.
Yeah,
the team's starting to grow up around Trevor. He looked really good yesterday.
It seems like putting the team together and adding the quarterback last is not a great solution because the team just might veto that quarterback. It seems like you might want to get the quarterback first and then build around the guy. Let him grow. I don't know. That's not how Kyle did it though.
If you're going to get the quarterback in the draft, yeah. If you're going to get like Stafford,
Kirk
I guess you can get him at any point. Yeah, Kirk Cousins.
Here's $5. Thanks. Jay Enthusiast says, I know we're talking Trey, but how good and surprisingly good has Talanoa Funga been for you guys? He seems to really get a good feel of the game. This was you asked that before we talked about it, but yeah, we're both high on Talanoa. He might be the MVP of the defense through the first 2 weeks. Him or Bosa.
Terrific player. He's a Pro Bowler.
Ninth Wonder Comic says Trey's agent, parents, and NFLPA rep should be at 4949 Centennial Boulevard requesting a meeting with the Yorks and Kyle. Make them feel the pressure. Oof.
Wow. I hope it doesn't go there, but I understand that line of thinking.
I think Jed should be having a meeting with Kyle. They need to talk this through because those are Jed's first round picks. This is Jed's franchise. Kyle could go wherever. Micah says this roster is built by Kyle. John is more or less a consultant and manages scouting, negotiates, etc. You sure? I mean, I don't think Kyle picks the players on day 3. He may pick them on day 1 or 2, but it's very much a collaborative effort, even if Kyle has the final say.
I mean, it's just, we all know Kyle was hired first. Kyle is making the big cheddar. Kyle is going to settle all ties. He's the man. It's his show. But let's not make Lynch sound like he's some clipboard holder. Lynch has got a major role, and as does Adam Peters, and as do their scouts. It's a collective effort for sure.
Brady, Rodgers, and Lamar all free agents next year. Well, Brady promised his wife he would retire next year, right? Maybe he'll lie about that. Just go.
Sounds like the wife and him. He might be able to make his own shots.
If he gets divorced, maybe he can really play until he's 72.
I don't know. Rodgers is interesting. Is he ever? Maybe Kyle will. I mean, here's the bottom line: if Jed came to you and said, "Kyle, you win a Super Bowl or you're out in the next 2 years," I mean, which would be a ridiculous standard. But let's just say that conversation went on. Who would you rather have? I'd probably go for Rodgers too at that point.
Yeah, Brady's getting a little old. I'd go for Rodgers. That Niner guy says real question is, how do the New Yorks feel today? They got to feel sick. They trusted Kyle. They thought he had the best development plan possible for Trey Lance, and then look what he did. You'd have to really question your belief and trust in him at that point, I would think.
They may, you never know. They may feel great about Kyle because they may look at it like, hey, guess what? Kyle got Garoppolo somehow to come back for $6 million, and now we've still got a chance at the Super Bowl. They could be sitting around instead of going, damn, Kyle got our first quarterback hurt. He'd be like, damn, Kyle pulled an incredible deal to get a second quarterback, so we still got a real shot. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of ways it could be spun internally.
William Bonnet says, if Kyle Shanahan doesn't win the Super Bowl or get bounced early, would you guys be interested in bringing back Saleh and LaFleur if they get fired or promote D'Amico? I think, look, if you're going to get rid of Kyle Shanahan, you're doing it because he bungled the quarterback position. So you're bringing in someone who has a clear track record. That's why I suggested Sean Payton and he suggested Ken Dorsey. I don't think you're bringing in a defensive coach. You have D'Amico. You could promote D'Amico if that's what you wanted to do. I'm thinking it has to be someone with real, not just expertise with the quarterback, but like proven track record of success. Has to be. Otherwise, you keep Kyle.
Yeah, I think any. First of all, I would keep Kyle, but it would be if I ever was replacing him, it would be with an offensive coach. I want a play caller and I want a quarterback developer. And I not that I don't like defensive coaches, I do, but I try to find a defensive coach.
Kirk Cousins is Jimmy and a different rapper, says Sean O'Leary. Kirk Cousins is a lot better than Jimmy. I'm just going to say that. My opinion.
Oh, I think so too. I think he's considerably better. He throws a much better deep ball.
Yeah. He throws it down the field. Ronald Key says Kinlaw and Trey could have been Jefferson and Parsons. That is true.
Wow. True. Think about that for a second.
Ahmed says
we can play that game forever, though, by the way.
Trade Bananahands and promote Anthony Lynn to head coach. I'm thinking, again, I think a lot of people would be interested. You don't just promote from within. If you do this, cast a wide net and make sure you get the best man for the job, because I think you can get someone better than Chip Kelly. Nothing against Anthony Lynn, but I think you could get a Super Bowl champion to want to coach this team, because I think a lot of coaches would look at this team and be like, I can win with that. I can win with that. Kyle's had multiple opportunities. Here's another one. Everyone says you have a Super Bowl roster. Get it done.
Maybe Harbs wants to come back. How wild would that be?
I mean, if it was like Jed begging him, he might be like, all right, fine. Okay, if you admit that you were wrong first, I don't know. It would never happen. Football is about deception. Trey provided that with his running and deep pass ability. Jimmy isn't fooling anyone. 9 in the box for the next 15. That's true. That's true. All right. I got one more thing I want to talk. 2 more things.
Yeah.
Before the season started, you said your main question with the defense was defending the runs up the middle because DJ Jones is underrated and they lost him. I agree. And I think, the Niners defense has performed well, but when they've gotten gashed in the run game, it's been up the middle. And they haven't gotten gashed a lot. And maybe I'm making something out of nothing, but it's 2 weeks in. And eventually, like this week, they're going to face some good running backs in Denver. And I'm starting to feel like DJ Jones, who's on Denver, was a big loss. He was a real impact player on the field against the run and the pass. And frankly, I haven't seen Kinlaw make an impact yet. I haven't seen Armstead make an impact yet this year. So that's what I'm looking at. If this defense has a weakness, if it does, this is it.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing that's been, and we already kind of hit on Afonga's ability against the run, his instincts of attacking the run from his strong safety position is impacting the run. And positively. I thought the most impressive part of yesterday's game was how they shut down Penny and Walker. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're stopping the run, but they're not doing it the same way DJ did it. DJ did it by himself, plugged the holes, gave no ground, would come off blocks, enormous upper body strength, couldn't be moved.
Got really penetration.
Smart. Yeah, got penetration, but now they've got Afonga. So if you had DJ and Afonga, oh my God! But yeah, Kinlaw's more of an interior rusher. So's Armstead. They're long. You can get into their legs. They don't play with leverage.
True. The pad level can be an issue.
But now you get Afonga.
Givens.
Yeah, Givens had a big game. He really did.
They need to give him.
He's
they need
quick.
to rotate him in. They need to rotate.
But he's not. He doesn't anchor against the run the way DJ did.
No, but I mean, they're all like 290 pounds, right? Kinlaw, Armstead.
Ridgeway is kind of a big boy for sure.
They could use a guy like Al Woods. That dude is freaking huge.
Yeah,
large. The Niners could use someone like that, but they don't have that. But this is my big question with the Niners defense because I like the safeties, I like the corners, I like the linebackers, I like the edge rushers.
Greenlaw, by the way, got the extension. And it's interesting. He was maybe one of the reasons they lost in week 1. He was terrific yesterday.
Maybe that's why they gave him the extension. Maybe they told him, if you play really well, we'll give you $30 million.
A lot of people thought they were going to trade Greenlaw.
They always seem to like him more than Aziz, which is strange because I prefer Aziz. But they drafted Greenlaw. They didn't draft Aziz.
Yeah. They're both studs, man. They
are both studs.
I love
I'm
both
afraid
those
that
guys.
Aziz isn't going to get that extension, that they're just going to – he's going to get the Kendrick Bourne treatment.
I was doing an interview the other day with Greenlaw, and he's like, I'm like, you got a minute? And he's like, yeah, but man, I just put a dip in. And I'm like, that's all right. I go, a little Copenhagen? He's like, a little grizzly. It's like a little grizzly. I'm like, hey, whatever floats your boat.
I got a true story. At Bishop O'Dowd, they had like bylaws, and there was a rule that no smoking cigarettes, but they didn't say no smokeless tobacco. So for an entire year, there was a loophole, and like kids were doing dips at school, and they couldn't change the rule until next year or something. So kids were throwing up, and this kid I knew named AJ, who ended up going to Arizona and was Rob Gronkowski's backup tight end. He just threw up in class. It's like all over the ground. So it was an epidemic at Bishop O'Dowd in 2004.
Oh
funny.
Man! If you don't know what Grant's talking about, go watch the movie Sandlot, where they all take a dip of Red Man and then get on the Ferris wheel and everybody yaks.
Not fun. Rob Martin says, kind of glad recovery is for the season. We trade Jimmy next year and have a clean slate with Lance and Purdy. I wish it were that simple though. Again, you said Dak Prescott clean break, came back, was fine. Yeah, but Trey's now had 3 years on the bench, right? Like if Kyle didn't trust him to throw a pass in year 2, is he going to trust him year 3 off an injury? You know what I mean?
Well, and
be ready next year.
Is Trey gonna? I mean, in 2 years he couldn't master the footwork on the short and intermediate passes, so they had to run him. But he's going to get that in year 3.
He's not working on any of that right now. He's recovering from ankle surgery that he hasn't had yet. So no footwork, no mechanics. Nothing. It's a wasted year. And I submit that last year was a wasted year and the year before that was a wasted year. Not his fault. Pandemic. Really, really tough. Like basically, I think when he came out, people were like, yeah, he's a project, might work out, needs a lot of reps. Didn't get him.
I'll say this. I did an interview last week with Randy Mueller, former GM of the Saints and the Dolphins. I said, where did you have Trey Lance on your board coming out of the draft. He said, I took him completely off the board. Now, he wasn't a GM at that point in time, but he said, I could not have drafted him. And I said, why? He said, because there wasn't enough there. He's like, there wasn't enough of a resume at North Dakota State of making the kinds of throws that he was going to have to make in the NFL. So even though he has athleticism, even though he's a great kid, and there's a lot to like as a prospect, I could not have drafted him there based on how much work, what he had put on film in college. I thought it was an interesting answer. I mean, he wouldn't have even had him on the board.
But here's what's complicated about Trey. The pandemic impacted his career. Had he gone back and played one more year at North Dakota State, he most likely would have been the number one pick in this last draft. He's still only 22 years old. So a team could look at him and be like, oh, the Niners really mismanaged that. That's a quarterback I want. And he could be someone else's project, and he could end up being really good when he's 25 or 26. I wouldn't write him off. And the Niners have to be very careful.
I'm not writing him off.
Yeah, I know you're not.
If people said to me, like, give me your evaluation, I would say I'm absolutely convinced that Trey Lance is going to be a well above average NFL quarterback. But I have no idea if it's going to be in 2023, 4, 5, 6. I would say it's going to happen in the next 4 years, but I don't know. It could be year 4.
They keep delaying it. Niners daddy says Shanahan needs to go. His 12-year plan ain't it. It feels like a 12-year plan. Every other coach has urgency, but he's got some serious job security. Matthew Sanders says Kyle and front office always have to be the smartest guy in the room. Their hubris hurts the team, and regardless of Lance, will continue to do so. I feel you on that. I know what you mean. It feels that way. Because they do things that seem so obviously insane, and they try to pass it off like, what do you mean? This makes sense. I guess.
Well, I mean, if you really look at this and you're trying to evaluate this, you say, where have the Niners been just so wrong? It's like ridiculous. Joe Williams, CJ Beathard, Dante Pettis, Jalen Hurd, Trey Sermon. They're all day 1 or day 2 or early day 3 offensive picks that Kyle had a ton of say on.
Jeez, yeah.
So there's so many swings and misses in the draft in the first couple of days on the offensive side of the ball.
It's true.
So does that mean that Kyle impacted those picks? Only really Kyle and John and the Niner scouts really know the answer to who banged the table for who.
That Niner guy says people were cheering my section. Trey was down when Jimmy was warming up. Honestly, that was so gross. I wanted to freak. What is going on here?
That's just people are freaking idiots.
People love Jimmy. People love Jimmy.
I don't care. I don't care if he's your nephew. If you're cheering a guy who's getting carted off, you should be carted off.
On your team. Kev F says big off-script play credit goes to the QB, not Kyle. That's true. And Kyle likes that credit. King Gio says all these fake fans want to turn their back on the team over a guy with less than 10 games in 3 years who can't throw a simple screen pass. Pathetic. See, that's the other side of the coin. The Niner fans who are not willing to give any type of emotional empathy response because you know what? He hasn't been here that long. Okay, King Gio. Jamar says, do you buy Kyle didn't switch up the play calling once Jimmy entered? I don't buy it either. Marcus Thompson asked, it was a great question. He said, you didn't call that many passes for Trey. Jimmy came in, you called 4 passes in a row. Was that because of the different quarterback? And Kyle says, no, we were just continuing our script. Sure. I mean, I can't prove it, but I don't believe that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't believe that. Sometimes you say things. Sometimes you say things for effect.
Few more, and then we'll be done. We want to talk about the running backs too. Chris says Trey is a pocket passer who can run, not a running quarterback. Love how Trey gets free and still looks downfield till he has to run. Telling everyone since Arizona last year he's going to get him hurt running up the gut. Yeah, and Kyle said that too, right? He's a quarterback who can run. He's not Lamar Jackson. That's crazy. Chris, thank you. Agree. We want to talk about the running backs now. What did you see from Jeff Wilson Jr., Ty Davis Price? And isn't it a shame that Jordan Mason still can't get a touch?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Wilson does what Jeff Wilson has always done. He runs really, really hard. And on this surface, I felt a little bit better watching that because when I watched him in Chicago, I thought, has Jeff Wilson lost any and all ability to cut? Because he made no cuts. It was just like he's always been kind of a one cut and go running back, but he was like a no cut guy at Soldier. And I wasn't sure if it was the surface or him. And it clearly was the surface because he was much better as far as cutting. So I love the effort and the toughness of Wilson. I still think Ty Davis Price is the biggest running back talent they have. He made a couple of really nice runs. He had one run that was about 15, 20 yards in the first quarter. That was nice.
He ran over that DB. Oh.
And he does, he can either run over you or run around you. I like Ty Davis Price. I really do.
I like Ty Davis Price in the sense that he's big and fast and he runs hard. And if you can scheme a hole open and get him to the second level, he's a problem. And he's a big play waiting to happen. But I don't think his vision's that great. I mean, there's so many runs where he gets nothing or goes backward. I want to see Jordan Mason. I think he'll be more. I keep bringing this up. I think he'll be more consistent. But I do like Ty Davis Price. I don't think he's Trey Sermon or anything. Big, fast, runs hard. And the Niners have shown they can create holes and openings for running backs who, can just follow a track. That could be good. Good.
I mean, and then Jordan Mason, I really like as well. I think Jordan Mason's got a lot of ability, but we haven't seen it in the regular season, but it's there. I mean, he averaged 5.2 a carry his final year at G-Tech, and I went and looked at a lot of those films, and he runs hard. He runs with purpose. He runs a little upright, but he runs hard.
Yeah. So look, the Niners have good running backs. They're deep. There's no reason to run Trey Lance. Also, Debo. So one more thing. So, okay, Kyle Shanahan was, neglectful of Trey Lance, got him hurt, used him as a running back. Is Debo next? Because, I mean, they use Debo a lot between the tackles, and if he does get hurt, everyone's going to be like, well, that was predictable. I mean, I think Kyle needs to be careful here. They're paying him to be a number one wide receiver. He's getting a lot of money. You can't just use him as a running back.
I think you can use him as a running back. You just can't use him as a running back between the tackles. And the same thing I didn't want to see with Trey. I don't want to see with Debo. Debo is a dynamic guy who can get to the edges. You don't have a lot of dynamic running backs that can get to the edges, especially this year with Mason and Ty Davis Price. You want with bigger guys, some heftier guys. Debo is a major part of now without Mostert, he's a key cog in your run game, but run them to the edges. Don't run them between the tackles. And I think we've discussed why that's vital many times already today.
Master J says Trey's dad should chin check Kyle. That's hilarious. Josh Oliva says opinion on O-line after these two games. What do you think, Larry?
I like what I saw from Burford. I really honed in on Burford in this game on the binoculars, and Burford, I really like Burford. I really do. I think Burford is a nice player at guard. And I'll tell you this, that was the best I've seen from Aaron Banks the entire time he's been a 49er. He showed quickness. He got to the second level. He stayed in front of guys. I like what I'm seeing from the guards. I really do.
Yeah, that being said, the Seahawks don't have much of a pass rush. Let's see how the Niners do against Nick Chubb.
Right.
His name? Nick Chubb? Bradley Chubb. Nick Chubb. Bradley Chubb. Glass half, one of those Chubbs. Glass half full guy says, is Jimmy Ward on track to play week 5? I don't know. Have you talked to him? Do you know?
I did talk to him, and he can't come back until week 5, but I think he probably didn't need that much time. I think he'll be ready in week 5.
Right. Josh says, I can't believe we're sitting here talking about this when Brian Hoyer is out here somewhere waiting for the call like Batman waiting for the signal.
No, he's got a gig.
He's got a gig, right?
Yeah, he's in New England, isn't he?
Yeah. William Bonnet says, any interest in bringing back Saleh on the floor? Good coaches, but if you're getting rid of Kyle, I'm getting a better offensive coach, not a defensive coach.
How great was Saleh pre-Bosa? It's about the athletes on defense. I'm nothing against Saleh. He's a good coordinator, but D'Amico is fine. I'm not sitting there going, man, if we could just have Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh was good and bad depending on what kind of players he had.
That's a good point. Todd says, here's a super sticker for $5 donation. Thank you. You too, Lolo. Madness Demenis says, it felt like Jeff Wilson had something to prove. He had a good game, but I'm glad to see they put Price in as well. About time. Yep. Just use the other guy too. V.O. Walker says Niners could have drafted Kyle Pitts and trade Kittle if they were going to do this to Trey Lance. Sucks for the kid. Does suck for the kid. Or Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is the modern. He's really freaking good.
Oh, he's awesome.
Best rookie year by a wide receiver since what? Randy Moss?
Yes.
Giovanni Miller says, how do you get Trey ready for next year? You can't. That's what's so discouraging about what happened yesterday. He's on the shelf for what, 6 months? More?
I mean, he's got to work on his footwork and his mechanics and moving within the pocket. And he's so athletic. Greg Cosell made the point that he moves so kind of frenetically within the pocket that he doesn't really get his feet set before he throws. And it's kind of like a guy who drifts on his jumper. It affects your accuracy. So that will calm down in time, but it's going to take reps. It's going to take a lot of reps.
Niner Notabot says the difference between Jimmy and Trey is that Jimmy came to a losing team and got them winning. Trey came to a winning team and lost his first game. Well, it's always important to judge a quarterback by his first game. That's the way you do it. Thank you, Niner Notabot. Jason Lutz says, what do we do with Gray, redshirt, Jimmy Garoppolo can't go deep? I did think that. It does seem like Gray is now not really going to be used, which is too bad.
Well, he's going to be used, but now he's going to be used to run off coverage, and they're not going to complete those passes. And what you're going to see is Jimmy's not going to complete those passes. He'll underthrow them. They'll get a few PIs. That's what I see there.
Art says, just a thought. Trey comes back next season. For it to work, you release or trade Juszczyk, Kittle, McGlinchey, and Jimmy. The Jimmy Brigade, you just let them go? Well, I mean, look, Juszczyk's 31. Kittle is almost 29. McGlinchey's a free agent next year anyway. Jimmy's a free agent next year anyway. Maybe that could happen. Although Juszczyk and Kittle are signed through like 2075, so I don't know.
I mean, that's an example of why you got to go. Why this year's still your go period, because you got that's a big part of your offensive core right there. And those guys are all going to play their best football this year and then probably start to taper off. So yeah, you're absolutely in Super Bowl mode this year.
Mike Miller says, love the show. Larry, good job being unfazed by interrupting Grant. Sorry. I'm a bad host. Larry's a pro. I'm not. I'm sorry. Quincy Van Vleck says, Jimmy isn't good when pass pro breaks down. We need O-line to step up against real teams. O may be in real trouble down the stretch due to bad pass pro. We've seen this movie before.
Throw it short. Keep the rhythm going. Keep Jimmy in a rhythm. Throw it short. Do what you can do. Take a couple shots deep.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen how Kyle calls plays for Jimmy. Just keep doing that. Michael says we should sign Shane Falco and start him. He's just as good as Jimmy and could ride us out to the playoffs. Is that Keanu?
Shane Falco. That's a terrible actor. Who's that actor who has the same? What's that?
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves is the same guy in if he's playing an attorney, he sounds exactly the same as if he's playing a quarterback. I mean, the guy, he's such a limited actor.
That's why I like him in
Bill
and Ted's Excellent Adventure, because he's perfect for Bill and Ted. Like he's strange in The Matrix. He's supposed to be a badass in The Matrix. No, you're Bill and Ted. Lapica Lolo says, if JG wasn't the backup quarterback, would Kyle still be using Trey as a running back? I don't think you could. That's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question.
Greg says, what can Trey do now to get better now that he's hurt? And you think Trey gets the 5-year option now that he will be in his 3rd year? I don't know, man. Well, he's going to take mental reps, I guess. He'll be in the booth.
Get that ankle right, get your legs right, and then start going through your footwork on every short and intermediate pass in Kyle's playbook, and master the footwork, the balance, the delivery, the mechanics, and get ready to play. Pretend like you're going to play every Sunday.
Adam says, I'm convinced Kyle wanted to get Lance hurt. That's a very, very outrageous thing to say, but it didn't seem like Kyle was very motivated to keep him healthy. I'll put it that way, the other way to say it. But yeah, I can't say that.
I'm not saying that, but I do understand the person who's quickly coming to that conclusion. But there's no way I'm touching that.
No. Future looks bright. I'm just saying any coach that runs his quarterback between the tackles isn't overly motivated to protect him, but I wouldn't say he's trying to get him hurt.
It's a big difference between two things.
Future looks bright in the hands of Jimmy. Guap does it, though. He's not even going to be here next year. Charlie Barrett says Kyle needs to stop listening to rap and put on Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. That man needs to change his ways. I'm not a big Michael Jackson guy. I mean, knowing his whole – I'm not going to talk about – a lot of people feel Michael Jackson was innocent. So I'm going to be like, no, I'm just going to stop right there.
Man in the Mirror. Maybe I'll go listen to a little Man in the Mirror as soon as we're done.
CT Law, $20. Thanks, CT. Says, if Jimmy really wants to stick up Kyle's rear, he says, I'm not feeling it this week. Shoulder hurts. Brock, you're up. That is scary that one guy has that much power to take Kyle down. Love it. Kyle tail between his legs. Wow, man. Jimmy Garoppolo fans really like him more than the rest of the team, which is amazing. I don't think Jimmy's going to do that.
Brock Purdy's way more accurate than Jimmy Garoppolo, by the way. As somebody who's watched practice and seen Jimmy throw the ball and then watch Brock Purdy throw the ball, Brock is smaller than Jimmy. Brock is way more accurate.
Now that Jimmy Garoppolo is a starting quarterback, and I've seen enough of Jimmy Garoppolo. It's like you've watched a mediocre series on Netflix for way too long. You're in season 7. You're like, I don't even know why I started watching this show. I don't want to watch it. I'm just looking for something new. I'd love to watch a little Brock Purdy. I'm not saying I want Jimmy to get hurt, but if Brock Purdy just happens to play a little bit, I would watch that. I'd love to. Brady Hill says Jimmy got lit up first play in. Did he? I forget.
He did take a hit.
Okay, the coach says, okay, I don't want to get in the weeds, but hear me out. Trey is going to have extended time being able to throw the ball sitting down, working on accuracy. The feet will come. They catch him raw and rebuild the base, turn lemons. Hey, look, I like a coach trying to think like a coach. I appreciate it, man. That's how the Niners should be thinking right now, too. They should not be throwing up their hands because Trey Lance. They should be a whole plan for Trey. I hope they're thinking like you're thinking, man. That's clever.
I like the coach. The coach is a solution guy.
Good coaches are.
Yeah.
Good coaches are. That's why I wonder on Kyle sometimes. Like, he'll have one thing break and be like, I don't know, man. That's it. I got no solutions. Wait until Jimmy has his first real bad game. Jimmy just wins. I don't know what you're talking about. He's never had a bad game. 808 Niners says the secondary is carrying this team. The ends are playing great against the run, but pass rush needs to turn it up. Bosa's getting his. The D needs to be perfect because they got to carry this team. Yeah, I'm waiting for Armstead and Kinlaw and Ebukam and anyone else in the D line to match Bosa.
Ebukam was monster in Chicago, but you're right. I mean, they need more rush.
870 Euro says Trey fully recovers, but Jimmy Garoppolo wins out. Now what? Oh, that would be amazing. You think Jimmy Garoppolo he could win the Super Bowl? He could. It's a really good
Jimmy
team.
G wins out. He's here.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Jose says Trey was set up for failure. He's not a running back. Shake my head. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people are going to be talking about what Kyle Shanahan did with Trey Lance for a very long time. And the fact that he did something similar with RG3 10 years ago is going to be part of that conversation. Matt, we're almost done. Matthew says, is Huff a shoo-in for Pro Bowl if he keeps this up? It's 2 weeks, but yeah.
There's a lot of good players at that position, but he's on a Pro Bowl trajectory for sure.
Jay Pezzi says, don't worry, Grant. You will see a ton of Mason and the other backs next week moving forward because Jimmy can't run worth a damn. Also, running backs get hurt. Everyone gets a chance on this team. Every running back gets a carry eventually on this team, right?
Hey, Marlon Mack's going to get his run.
That's true. Ethan M says, how does promoting Anthony Lynn to HC sound? I like Anthony Lynn a lot, but I would cast a very wide net, and I'd be looking for guys who are at the top of their game. At the top of the profession. Champions. So
you could do worse than Anthony Lynn.
You could do worse than Anthony Lynn. I'll say that. He is a good coach. Could you fire Kyle and keep Lynch? No one's firing Kyle. I think the idea with Kyle is if you got rid of him, you could trade him. That's what's so intriguing. You could pull an Al Davis here. What did Al Davis get for John Gruden? 2 1s, 2 2s?
Yeah. Or was it 2 1s, 2 3s? I forget, but I think he got 4 picks.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying fire Kyle, by the way. We're not. Grant's not saying it. I'm not saying it. Nobody's saying fire Kyle. Also, but this was not a good day for Kyle yesterday.
Let the season play out. He might win the Super Bowl this year, in which case he'll get another extension, and so will Jimmy. And they'll be. I'll apologize to them for an entire year straight every day. But it's not going to happen, will it? Christopher says TDP had 14 carries for 33 yards. One of those carries went for 13 for 13 yards. What's a hype? Bring in Mason. That's how I feel.
But go back and look at those plays. I did late last night as I'm making myself bleary-eyed. Yeah. I would say he had no chance on most of those runs. There was penetration in the backfield on TDP on like about 85% of TDP's runs. Block it better and he'll do better.
I agree with that. Sacramento Mike, wait until we play good teams. They're going to stack the line and wait for slants and mediocre passes. Then everyone will get off Jimmy's whatchamacallits. Yeah, I mean, again, we've seen this before. Yeah, I mean, the book is out on Jimmy. Unless Jimmy changes his skill set and starts nailing passes down the field or running around, there is a game plan established in the NFL. Every defensive coordinator has it, and that's the problem.
Take some chances at Danny Gray if that happens. Yeah. Loosen things up. You still got a burner. You got a sub 4.3 burner. Use them.
Yep. Easy Tino says, did Kyle make it out on the field to check on Trey? I missed him. I think he did. Anyone see Kyle run out and put his hand on Trey? I don't know if he touched him, but yeah.
Supposedly he apologized to him.
Gio says Niners are in no man's land and Kyle caused it. Jim is gone next year and Trey's development has halted. Next year, Trey might play scared and they can't even trade for a vet quarterback because of a wasted picks. That's how I feel. They're in a really weird spot. Jimmy could be gone. Trey isn't developing now. What's the plan for next year? Do you need another quarterback? How do you get that quarterback? Who picks the quarterback? Like all these questions. And Kyle.
And it's going to get more complicated because Garoppolo's going to get hurt. Purdy's going to come in. Purdy's going to play well. And the whole place is going to be like, well, now what?
Yeah.
There's
so many more twists ahead for this team.
Yeah. Get ready. Buckle up.
Brock should be QB1. He's legit. I'm with Krug. QB controversy.
The ball comes out on time with Brock Purdy, and he's very calm.
Also, Brock's been with this team all freaking offseason. Jimmy just started training. Jimmy was over here not, thinking about what team he was going to be on this year, and it wasn't the Niners. Kiefer says Josh Allen 2021 average 7 rushes per game versus Trey 14. Yeah. Sharky Cupcake says this O-line, don't be surprised you will see Purdy starting soon. Well, and this coach too. It's really Kyle's the common denominator of all these injuries. Aaron Chavez says, I love Trey, but we have no choice but to support Jimmy. I'm sure we all support him. Yeah, what has Jimmy done wrong? He took a pay cut. He's the backup. He doesn't complain. I mean, he didn't create the situation. It's hard to knock Jimmy.
Jimmy didn't get Trey hurt. Jimmy's just a guy who wants to play ball.
Yeah, it's hard to knock Jimmy.
Seriously,
Sacramento Mike says,
Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm cool with Jimmy. I'm backing Jimmy. You see Jimmy say, who cares about stats as long as you win? Shake my head. He can throw 2 picks and the defense win the game 6-0. He still won't be accountable. He's a backup quarterback at this point. I think the reason people were really hard on Jimmy for years is because he was the highest paid player in the league for a minute. And he was getting paid big money and he didn't deserve it. Now it's like he took his come down. He's a backup.
Yeah.
How can you knock him? Sorry. And that's the same thing with Trey. I mean, he's getting all this criticism because of the 3 first-round picks. The Niners, in both cases, created unrealistic expectations for their own quarterbacks. These quarterbacks buckled under the weight of the expectations the Niners created for them by how they acquired them. Saying the coach says, watch yourself with the RG3 injury narrative. It's not even close. Apples and oranges. Previously torn ACL from RG3 with nowhere near Trey's arm is a completely different league. RPO is brand new. It's just the thing. Like, if you run a guy a lot, he's probably going to get hurt. RG3 ran a lot. Trey Lance ran a lot. Some were scrambles, some were designed, but just the sheer numbers increase the probability. I think that's the point. But I hear you, Coach. I do. 808 Niner says Pettis leaves, turns into an NFL player. Jet leaves, stays healthy, and might be the best running back in Kansas City. River Craycraft leaves, catches a pass. Richie James doing pretty good.
That's right.
Richie freaking James. If this season gets lost, we should start Purdy. Yeah!
Telling
I'm
you.
on the Purdy train now. Grant, please ask Jimmy about throwing the ball away again. That worked last year. We could win a Super Bowl if he does that instead of trying to extend. Yeah, I don't think he's extended nothing. All right, that's the show. We made it through. It was an hour and a half. Thank you for all the donations. That was crazy. Unreal. A lot of people watching. Make sure you follow, subscribe to Larry.
The Krug Show, we were suspended for a week because we played a faulty ad, but we're back. We're back, baby.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll be doing more stuff starting tonight.
Keeps it way too real. YouTube couldn't handle it, but he's back.
That's right.
That's right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Kyle talks at 3:30. I'm going to ask him why he said he wasn't going to run Trey Lance in the ground, but did anyway. We'll see what he says.
Should be good.